Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux, here with special guest Nate from...
Who's going to say it?
I was going to have you say it. I'll let you say it.
Huge movie fanatic Nate.
I'll have a link to his channel down below. Please subscribe. He does a lot of interesting interviews of like the more kind of now classic variety.
And for people on my channel, we're both filming this, so if you're wondering why he's introducing it like a video on his channel, it's because it's also going to be a video on his channel. If you want to see me in HD, watch this on his channel. If you want to see me in standard definition, continue to watch here.
Yeah, so I'm here to talk about the superhero movies. I'm interested in his take on superhero movies.
This will be a very short video.
Back when I was on his channel exclusively and very often, he was always kind of down on the whole superhero genre as it was taking the nation by storm. We started our video in 2011, so it was like our channel. So just a year after the MCU was firmly being established, with Iron Man 2 and then the Thor and Cap. Since then, we've had literally an entire series finale to the MCU, and whatever happened with the DCEU, like just going right off the rails several times over. So I just wanted to kind of get your insight onto what you think of all of this. Do you feel validated now that these movies are being perceived as less successful than maybe I do, and maybe what of the movies that have come out since like 2015 when we last got together, you liked? Which ones stuck out as being good comic book films?
What did that mean, validated? Because these aren't less successful, or did they get less successful as they go on?
Like The Flash came out a couple weeks ago.
Gotcha. That's what I was smiling about earlier. I was gonna tell you that I'd seen like someone on YouTube put like all of Batman's action scenes or something video on there, and I'm like, so with movies now, or like these superhero ones, do they just do all of the action stuff in the computer now? Like, did you see The Flash?
I did see The Flash.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's some scene where there's like cameras going around, and someone's on the table with long hair and beating someone up or whatever. And then I saw a scene of Batman kicking ass, and it looked like just a video game.
It does kind of look not unlike the visual effects. So here's my stance on visual effects.
Currently?
Like in general.
Okay.
I'm not here to criticize visual effects because any visual effect I see in a movie is considerably better than I can do it. So I'm not going to come at bad-looking visual effects.
I didn't even say they're bad. I'm just saying, like in the old days, like look at the first Batman. Batman Returns. It's like it's him kicking ass is him or a stuntman actually doing it.
I'm getting to a point. So, like, I'm not going to criticize a movie for having bad visual effects. I do have a critical analysis background, especially in film criticism and journalism, and I know very much about narrative. So I can criticize a movie based on those merits pretty strongly. So, that being said, The Flash has stunning visual effects in that you feel like it's 2003. The entire movie has visual effects that are as impressive as Return of the King was back in 2003, but just pretend like we haven't surpassed
What's
that.
Return of the King? Is that
the last Lord of the Rings movie?
Oh, okay.
For The Matrix Reloaded. This is as good and rubbery as Matrix Reloaded. Keanu Reeves can get.
I have to apologize. I don't know if I'm like derailing your.
No,
I just wanted to mention that I just seen those clips, and I just this is what action like superhero movies have evolved to, basically just computer generated characters fighting each other. But anyway, your original question was what?
So what do you feel kind of a little more vindicated now that the superhero people are cooling on the superhero wave?
Well, no, because yes and no, because it seems like because for me, like I was kind of there. I wasn't making a big point of it, but if I could get a previously viewed Blu-ray for a small amount of money. Like I think I've got all except maybe one, or maybe I've got them all of the Marvel films on Blu-ray. Up until what's the last one? What the hell's the last one? Well, no. I mean the last one.
Endgame.
Endgame, is that the last one?
The Endgame was the end of the phase.
To me, that's the end of the franchise. I'm not interested in anything more. So
okay.
The question is, it's kind of like yes and no, because all those films, and I can't comment on anything after Endgame because I haven't seen it. But
interesting. Okay.
No, I haven't seen anything after Endgame is what I meant.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
That's interesting.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because by then there's a couple reasons why. By then I was never a big superhero guy to begin with, so it was like exhaustion.
Yeah.
But also because it seemed like what they were doing after Endgame was like, oh, give me a break. We're gonna have like this is going to do this, and we're going to have this, and it was just like, a movie about Black Widow. I mean, for Black Widow fans, more power to you, whatever, but to me it seemed like, okay, all of this stuff, like, we're going to make movies about the leftovers now because we've done the main thing and wrapped it up or whatever.
Fair enough.
My answer to the question is that everything, let's face it, I mean, more or less up to Endgame is, what you'd say as a whole, more or less competent. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of whatever it was called, Captain Marvel or whatever. And I think I've even got that on previously viewed $3 Blu-ray or something. Yeah. I've got, superhero stuff isn't my thing, so I've got a lot of problems with a lot of this stuff leading, from the beginning all the way up to Endgame. But I can still recognize what people liked about it, and the all of the in-jokes and the continuing stories and this and that. But so to answer the question is, I'm kind of defending the everything up until Endgame in a way by this answer, because my criticism wasn't necessarily because the stuff was bad. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And there was just even you have
to. I think you were the one that was it in our Avengers review where you were like, I prefer one-on-one time, and so getting a movie where 6 main characters are the main characters.
If I didn't say that, I should have, because
I think that was your sentiment.
In social situations, I'm much more of a one-on-one person, so it probably goes the same with superhero movies. Like, I don't want to see a superhero movie. Like for example, one of the first ones that just destroyed my brain was Batman Returns. We got Batman, at the time it seemed like a lot, but we got
I know, right?
a whole Penguin and Catwoman, 3 characters versus the 2 that was in the previous film. But that's nothing compared to Infinity Wars or But so I don't know where the hell I was going, but what I was saying is that they just weren't really my fare. But I think what's interesting is happened, and I guess I can't comment so much on it, not having seen anything post Endgame. But it seems like if I'm just looking at the waters online or whatever, a lot of people share the same kind of sentiments, like as in regards to I don't remember. I see a lot of trash talk on like Eternals. I don't know what Eternals.
I loved Eternals,
okay.
But we'll get into that.
It seems like a lot of people post Endgame, at least in the snippets that I see in comments or whatever online, tend to take more of my stance, which is okay. Now we're because we've done the main story, now we've got the leftovers, so we're going to do this. Thor: Love and Thunder, what the hell? And like I say, I can't comment on these movies because I haven't seen them, so it's really not fair. But we'll see what you think, but general consensus is that post-Endgame the stuff isn't necessarily as good. And very briefly, before you can respond, I let you, I think it's fair to say, and I don't know what your consensus on the DC stuff is. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts on Flash. I can't imagine you like Flash. I don't know. But, a lot of the DC stuff, I never was necessarily on board with any of the more recent DC stuff. I can remember back in, 2012 when Man of Steel came out? Was that like one of the 2013? Was that like one of the first versions of like DC starting to want to compete with Marvel?
That was the start of the DCE.
Right, and what I thought was really, really, you could tell that DC was really trying to catch up because Marvel had done it so well, and this is me actually giving them a compliment. Of doing these standalone movies, so many, I don't know how many they did before the first Avengers, but it was it was competently done.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's already
5 movies before the Avengers.
Yeah, and 2 of them were Iron Man, correct?
Yeah.
And that was, to me, competent to do 5 individual stories or whatever, and then do the Avengers. And what was like DC? Was it like a 1 or?
It was just Man of Steel, and then they went into Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. And this is where I'm kind of interested in sort of your take on it.
Well, when did they do Justice League after Dawn of Justice?
That was the following year. But between Dawn of Justice and Justice League, there was also Suicide Squad and Wonder Woman.
Right. Okay. Anyway, you're interested in what?
I remember you liked Man of Steel more than I did.
Did I?
Yeah, I didn't. I wasn't like.
I thought I hated it.
I don't think you liked it.
Because I don't.
And
I liked it more than you.
You liked it a little more than I did.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. That's hard for me to believe because I hate it.
I was pretty.
But you must have really hated it.
I didn't hate it. I think your initial review was more like, I'm on the fence with it. It's like 2.5. It's 2 stars. It's okay. And I was a little less than that.
Okay.
So, and I guess I'll stand by that. I was just kind of curious what you thought of like Batman versus Superman or Justice League, Wonder Woman, if you've seen any of those ones, or if you...
I've only seen all of those once. I've got 84 Wonder Woman, but I haven't even seen it yet.
Interesting.
So I wish I had, because I mean, the 80s aspect of it looks kind of fun, and particularly being a kid of the 80s, it might be fun for that aspect alone. How is that?
So I'm curious to know what you think of it, because that movie is pretty much most people consider to be awful.
Crap, okay.
I like it, but the vibe the movie gives off is very much like Superman 2 by Richard Lester or Superman 3. It feels very much like the Richard Donner era, but specifically the Richard Lester interpretation of Superman just transposed to Wonder Woman. And I like that era's wholesomeness and stuff like that, and I think that kind of works. The villain is very like cartoony to that extent, but you could easily see him popping up in one of the Donner era Superman movies. And the movie has like weird flaws that are just mind-numbing to kind of grapple with, and it's a whole be careful what you wish for movie about a magical rock. But I'd be curious to see what you think of it based on your interpretation of that Superman, which I think you prefer the Christopher Reeves Superman.
Yeah. Well,
if you like that tone, if you might like 1984 better than most people.
Yeah, and let's face it, I mean, you and I, as we've already covered, maybe not on your channel per se, but for people, on his channel, we both of the sequel trilogy of Star Wars consider The Last Jedi to be the best, so we don't always, have the general consensus. We don't agree with the general population always, so I wouldn't be surprised if I liked 84, but back to your question, give those movies in order again.
It was Man of Steel.
We touched on that.
Dawn of Justice, Batman versus Superman. Dawn of Justice.
Let me comment on that. So I've only seen it once. I've got the Blu-ray, but I've only seen it. There's a lot of slashers that I just watch over and over, and sometimes I can't be bothered with something new that's made in the computer. But one thing I did.
That's funny.
One thing I did remember liking about. Well, see, the thing is, I don't think I really like Batman versus Superman so much because I'm really not that keen on that Batman, Superman rather. But I actually liked the Ben Affleck Batman more than what the hell was his name in the three?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
Yeah.
I thought that the Ben Affleck Batman was pretty goddamn cool, and honestly, that's really, I think, all I can remember. Other than, was it a dream? What the hell was it with that scene where he's like does he have like a machine gun or armor?
Yeah, there's the nightmare scene, but then he also, when he fights Superman, he has like this kind of like War-Tech armor kind of thing to battle him.
I can't remember much about it, but unfortunately, because it's kind of a bummer, I can't answer your question more in depth, but definitely on board with the Affleck Batman. How many times was Affleck Batman?
So he was in. He has a small scene in Suicide Squad.
Oh, okay. Now
or
there's the
a
thing
couple
that,
of scenes.
that's confusing. Now there's 2 Suicide Squads, ain't there?
Yeah. So the original Suicide Squad,
From
he
what
has
year?
like 2016. He has a couple scenes in that. Then he's in Justice League, and
Okay,
then
correct.
the Zack Snyder version of Justice League, and most recently he's in The Flash.
So it sounds like with the Flash, they do a little bit of this. What everyone's doing now is the multiverse
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, so unfortunately, I can't remember much more about Batman. I think I liked it more than whatchamacallit, Man of Steel, because Batman was so cool.
I did too.
Yeah.
All right. Suicide Squad. Did you see the original Suicide Squad?
Yeah, I think I did, and I don't think I thought much of it.
I hate that movie.
Okay, we're in agreement.
Wonder Woman.
Okay, yeah. Once again, saw it once, got it on Blu-ray, but I can't be bothered to see it again. If we're lucky enough to where we can, get together more than once a year, maybe I shall watch like these things over so we can talk about them better.
Yeah.
And now I'm curious to see 84. So
Yeah.
Wonder Woman, it seems to me like it was. How long is it? Is it long?
It seems like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something
so
like
it's
that.
not,
Maybe
it's-
2:20.
It's not terrible, but I'm not so sure I can remember a whole much. The one thing I do know is I like. What the hell's the name of that actor?
Chris Pine or Gal Gadot.
Yeah, I like Chris Pine as an actor for some reason. And
Yeah, he's great. Yeah.
And it seems to me, is he from an era like the early 20th century or whatever? What do they do? Do they do something with the 30s or 40s?
Yeah, it's set during World War One. So
Yeah,
it's
so
like
me being a
1960s-ish.
fan of the early 20th century, I like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Does it jump? Does it jump
It's-
into the? Does it all take place then?
The opening scene and last scene of the movie are in present day, but you don't even see anything around her.
Okay.
It's just framed that way of her looking at a picture. And then it takes place exclusively in the 1917, maybe 1916,
Okay.
thereabouts.
Well, unfortunately, I same with whatever it's called, Batman versus Superman. I don't remember very much about it, other than being a fan of that era. Appreciating that it took place then, and I do like Chris Pine as an actor, so he was fun. But having grown up in the 80s with that one woman as Wonder Woman on TV,
Linda Carter, yeah.
yeah, it was kind of hard for a child of the 80s to, I mean, I'm not saying that the chicks, whatever. Anyway, we'll just leave it at that. So unfortunately to your audience, and mine as well, I can't remember much about that.
How about Justice League?
Justice League, once again, I own, bought previously viewed Blu-ray for a decent price, saw once. And that's kind of like and this is the theatrical cut I'm talking about. I haven't seen, isn't there like a
The
Snyder
Snyder cut,
I
yeah.
haven't seen that, can't comment on it.
Copy.
So it'll be interesting to get your take on both of, those comparing to each other. But my take on Justice League was probably didn't hate it because, one thing that I always kind of thought was a bummer, and it's even more of a bummer now that The Flash came out, and from what I can understand, from what looks like to me, it's not that good, is like The Flash I always thought was kind of a cool character, and I grew
Yeah.
up in the early, well, not just the early 90s, but I was a teenager when the original show was on TV, so
Yeah.
I'm like a fan, and I got the Blu-ray collection of the original show. I always thought it was a bummer that The Flash, very much like the character Green Hornet as well, and it was like cool that it got a movie, but then it's Seth Rogen, so it was
Yeah.
kind of like, it was cool that it got a movie, but then why is he the character? Kind of a bummer. But like, there's 2 characters for me that I can think of that never get their own movie: Green Hornet and like the Flash. And both times they do, and I haven't seen the Flash, so I can't comment. But it looks like it's not that good. It's like Green Hornet. I mean, it wasn't even a horrible movie. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah,
It wasn't
okay.
even horrible, which was amazing. But it's not as good as it could have been. Being a fan of like the old time serials in the radio show Green Hornet and
Yeah.
stuff. So The Flash, I always thought, having grown up in the early 90s and watching the TV show, was a really cool character, and a bummer that it never got a movie. And it was cool to actually see, like, because was that the first time The Flash was, like, in a movie?
Yeah, Batman versus Superman, he has a cameo. And
Okay.
Same thing in Suicide Squad, but then Justice League is the first time he's a main character. in the
Gotcha.
movie.
So let me, because I don't know anything very much about this stuff. So the guy who's the Flash now, is that a different guy than the Justice League? Or is it
No, it's the same.
Same guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know that there's things that we don't necessarily have to get into revolving around that actor, but
Yeah.
but those aside, the guy, even in the Justice League, and I would imagine that came out before those things were on.
Yeah,
were
during
known,
Justice League, they were not
talking about
riddled with controversy.
Well, so that just backs up where I'm coming from all the more, meaning that I've never liked that guy who portrayed, even back in Justice League, I didn't like that guy who portrayed the Flash. I thought he was just annoying as shit. So it was a bummer to me that, oh, okay, Flash is finally in a movie, but now, you know, he's freaking annoying. And at the time, I think I was even, because I did enjoy, I have, and not all of them, but most of them. At the time, I was, when it was pretty new on Blu-ray, I was buying the new series on Blu-ray, The Flash, because even though I'm not a huge comic book guy, it was a character from my teen years because of that original show. So I liked the character, and I actually liked the show.
It's a good show. I've only watched the entirety of the first season. I think it's a great first season, and then I've seen a handful of episodes afterwards, including like what's the guy who played the original Flash?
Yeah, he plays
Ship. He shows
John
up.
Wesley. I want to say Ship. I want to say.
Yeah.
How cool is he that he's the dad? But anyway, what I was getting at is I was disappointed that why couldn't have that actor, even though he must,
right? That's
why couldn't have he been in the movie?
Yeah, there's no reason for that not to happen other than they didn't want to tie the universes, which is weird when they eventually go into multiverses.
They do it anyway.
So yeah,
because who did that first? Spider-Man, and it was a big hit with multiverse, or what?
Yeah, like there was. I think it was always going to happen with the MCU, and
eventually,
because of Endgame. Endgame sets up the idea of a multiverse.
I see.
Spider-Man just happened to come out 6 months earlier than that one. So Spider-Man made the whole concept okay. Was a moderate success in theaters, but a huge success on Netflix. Endgame came out, played with multiverse to a small extent as well, and then open that concept up to like, oh, people will watch this and they get it. It's not as confusing as people would make you believe. And then
it's not
everybody started doing it.
It's not only not confusing, but I think people really, because let's face it, there's people that exist now from different generations. So different generations grew up with different versions, because I was in my 20s when Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man came out. There's a small fraction of people that saw the two Andrew Garfield, whatever. So I think it was just a great way to bring like different generations together into one movie experience. Yeah. So I still haven't even seen that, so I should probably see that.
Yeah, not for nothing. Like Endgame is like a great movie. I guess I didn't hear
I'm talking about the Spider-Man movie where there's the multiverse.
Well, yeah, I was gonna get into that.
Okay.
So Endgame is a great movie. I still haven't even gotten your take on that necessarily, but the of the movies that have come out post Endgame, it is kind of disappointing that you haven't seen, because there's a handful of them that are genuinely great.
That you think are good.
Spider-Man No Way Home being chief among them. No Way Home.
Was that the second one?
That's the third one. That's
okay. Because the reason I never saw the third one is because I didn't like the second one.
And I didn't like the second one as much. It's not that I didn't like it. I just thought it's easily the worst thing of the Phase 3, Phase 4.
I like Homecoming. I thought that was cool.
Homecoming was great, and Far From Home was just very okay.
I didn't like Far From Home, but that's why I didn't see the new one, which I will see it.
You should definitely see it. It's very good because unlike you'd expect, you think they're just grabbing all these characters for nostalgia's sake. Having Green Goblin, having Doc Ock, having...
But they work it into the story?
They work it in the story where it's not just that it's them back again. It's Spider-Man making a conscious decision to make sure that he does what the other Spider-Man couldn't, which is try to redeem what they did. And so it continues their storylines individually. Even though he knows he's sending some of them back to their death, he's trying to send them back changed. So it's continuing the story of each of the characters.
Willem Dafoe, post 3, post Amazing 2?
Yeah, so like Willem Dafoe is still the Willem Dafoe from Spider-Man 1.
And this is to both audiences. If there's wind, we apologize.
Yeah. The Alfred Molina Dr. Octopus, the Jamie Foxx like Electro.
Oh wow, they even...
what's his name? Tom Holland's Spider-Man is trying to make sure that he is sending them back without with changing them. His learning of with great power comes great responsibility isn't in the sense of tragic demise, even though it somewhat is. It's about you have the responsibility to try and make these people better. You can try and redeem the bad things that they have done or get them to do it themselves. And he sees that reflected in, like, Dr. Octopus, as you see at the end of Spider-Man 2, isn't the villain. And that maintains in this film. Dr. Octopus is somewhat villainous because he's confused in an area he doesn't understand.
Does villainous things.
But he's not a bad guy. Same thing with Sandman is a good guy throughout the whole film.
Being
the dude from Spider-Man 3.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, he's the same actor.
A lot of characters. So that's not only the Spider-Mans, but the villains that come with.
Yeah, and so it's like Spider-Man No Way Home is a genuinely great, well-written movie, and it's the first time that, like, Tom Holland's Spider-Man is so reliant on, like, Tony Stark or the Avengers and stuff like that. This is the movie where it's sort of his origin story. He learns to strip all that away and rely on himself, and they do that neat visually. He learns to rely on exclusively Peter Parker to get him out of his problems, and it's a genuinely genius film. So it's too bad that you haven't seen No Way Home.
I've been trying to. It's kind of like I just because I'm of the generation, I always try to find. I like to own movies, so I guess I haven't found it cheap enough yet.
That one's good. Of the post ones, I happen to like Eternals. I think it's telling the same story Zack Snyder wanted to tell with his incarnation of Justice League, just from a filmmaker who's actually competent and knows how to do it.
Oh, okay.
So slap in the face of Justice League. But I liked Eternals. A lot of people didn't because it's very slow and methodical.
We actually saw, as a second film at the drive-in, we went and saw. We got to the point where we just go to the drive-in just to go, even if we don't necessarily. Actually, Jungle Cruise turned. We went to see Jungle Cruise. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I know, and we went to just to go to the movie just because we wanted to go to the drive-in theater, and we're like, oh fuck it, we'll take one for the team and we'll see Jungle Cruise. It actually turned out to be not even horrible, a little long, but then the second movie I think was, what the hell was I saying?
Eternals?
No. Black Widow.
Oh, okay.
And you know, I never necessarily intended to see that, and it wasn't even horrible.
No, it's a good
like
movie.
That Russian, was that chick Russian? Whoever that blonde is was kind of hot. So
she's a good actress, Florence Pugh.
But anyway, I mean, it's so. I'm not saying I wouldn't like these movies. I just have no.
You have no desire
to see them.
That's what I would get into. Is I think that it's not so much that people don't want to watch these anymore. Even yourself, kind of stating that by saying like you wouldn't. It's not that you wouldn't enjoy them. You're not seeking it out anymore.
Right.
Because Endgame brought finality. It was a promise of finality, and it delivered. It actually delivered. What felt like a cathartic end. It felt like you didn't need any more. I felt that way too. The fact that we got hit with the whole pandemic and thing, I think was a weirdly kind of a help because Black Widow would have come out just a year later, and having an extra year to like just settle with everything was possibly, I think, for me anyway, a benefit. But it sounds like the public at large, that is what
needed a break from superhero movies.
Yeah, and
agreed.
I think that was much needed, but it hasn't kept the hype train up, or it transitioned the hype train into now everybody expects to top Endgame.
Yeah, you know what? And let's face it. And some of this is deserved or not, but a lot of people came out of the, you know what, time of life. A lot more cynical, and you can't blame them, but I think that had a lot to do with it as well. And I mean that really, we don't have to talk about it, but that really affected all of us in a bad way, and just what the whole world went through. But yeah, a lot of people, and it's interesting that you tie that into that time in history, is because a lot of people really just went dark, and you can't blame them during that period. And then afterwards, when they start putting out new movies, it's kind of like a lot of people felt for the first time in a long time, or maybe forever, the stance that I always kind of had, not being a huge superhero fan, was kind of echoed by a great number of people.
Yeah, I think it was more that like they waited so long, and then when they got like ignoring the Disney Plus shows, when they got Black Widow, they're like, this is fine, but this isn't Endgame.
Right. Well,
this is Shang-Chi. If you went to see Shang-Chi, it's a good movie.
Oh, that's another one. Yeah.
I really
just smile when I think of it.
I really like Shang-Chi.
And all of the clearance action figures. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. I really like Shang-Chi. It's a fantastic movie, but it just isn't. It doesn't have like the same build, and I think the audience expects you to top your last.
Here's a good question.
Yeah.
Or I should say a question. It's up to anyone's interpretation if it's good or not. But here's a question. What are your thoughts on, do you think they did it backwards? Do you think that they should have, of course, Robert Downey Jr. wasn't getting any younger, but do you think they should, what are your thoughts on like doing all these movies, having an end only to do more? Do you think in a perfect world the end should have been when they were done with everything? Or are you okay with having an end and then...
I think my stance on it is that like everything is an ending to some extent. Like
there really is no real ending.
Yeah, like great
Life
moments in
finds a way.
history, like pandemics or whatever, have like a point where we can say, all right, we've kind of moved on and life has lingered beyond its end point, and whatnot, even though we're not done with the pandemic, so maybe that's not a good example. World War II, something like that, where it's ended, but time doesn't stop with that. That's just when the camera stopped. We just keep moving beyond.
So your whole idea is, well,
like
life doesn't.
Endgame,
well, until it does, life doesn't have an ending.
Yeah, Endgame is a great ending to this story, but that doesn't mean that there isn't more stories to tell. They just haven't. I think their biggest issue was, and spoiler alert for these movies, is that they haven't framed where they're going with it yet. Like, they have the suggestion of like the whole multiverse of it all with their Spider-Man movie, and Doctor Strange is very heavy with the multiverse. The TV show Loki is very much about the multiverse. So like this is going to be the multiverse saga. But they're also saying like Kang is going to be the big villain. This is the Kang dynasty, and Kang ties into the multiverse to some extent, but also kind of doesn't. Then you also have the whole thing with the Skrulls from Captain Marvel, and their TV show now is like, who of the Marvel heroes is actually a Skrull, and maybe has been the whole time, and we've never actually met the real Blank, and like all this kind of stuff. There's no specific guiding hand saying, all right, phase 4, this is going to be the phase where we're going to explore like establishing the new Avengers. Phase 5 is going to be like, let's bring mutants into this, and then phase 6, all this is leading to X-Men versus Avengers or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? You could have framed each phase as 6 movies or 8 movies or whatever, and a TV show or 2 leading up to one point. We haven't gotten that. Phase 4 ended with the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, which is not an ending. It's a beautiful little, like, admittedly possibly saccharine
What's
bit
the
of
definition
like
of saccharine?
overly sweet.
Oh, okay.
Just like this sweet little bite-sized 45-minute short film with all the actors reprising their roles. And
is that something on streaming, or what?
Yeah, it's like on Disney Plus, and it's a great short film. It's something that I'm going to add into my yearly holiday rotation.
Oh, damn. Doesn't that become more and more difficult as you get older? Like, oh my God, it gets to a point where you gotta have to get rid of some.
Yeah, I've already like jettisoned certain things.
Like what?
I don't have much patience for Home Alone 2 anymore. I used to include it all the time.
Agreed.
But like,
yeah.
Home Alone 1 does it for me.
Agreed, yeah, okay.
I don't necessarily watch like Christmas Vacation as much as I used to.
That's understandable. Yeah, see, it seems
So,
to be like it's only natural that the older ones kind of fall to the wayside because you're so familiar with them.
Yeah.
I don't mean to sidetrack you.
No, that's all good. But like, that was the end point. The end point for Phase 1 was inarguably the Avengers.
Yeah.
Phase 2, it's Ant-Man, but Ant-Man seems like just a coda. It's really Age of Ultron, or you could make an argument for Civil War. I could argue that Civil War is sort of the end of Phase 2. And then Phase 3, the ending, I know they say is Spider-Man Far From Home, but that just seems like an epilogue to Endgame. Endgame is the end of that phase. So, with, for this whole thing, the final Phase 4 is... and the ending is this cute little holiday special, or Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which doesn't have any, we've come all this way to get to this point stakes to it that any of the other ones have kind of been building towards.
Very briefly, what was your thoughts on Wakanda Forever?
Weirdly enough, I just talked about it the other day on this channel. I just reviewed Star Trek III: The Search for Spock. They're kind of one and the same movie in that they have the same flaws and the same issue at hand, which is they're both movies that are immersed in grief over the loss of a main character. And in real life, one of them was guided by the true life loss, and the other one, it's a fabricated loss. And they are both much better movies than the public will give you credit for believing they are, that have a villain that's entirely okay, but nowhere near as compelling as the villain from the movie prior to it. And they're both movies that are standing next to titans. Wrath of Khan is inarguably phenomenal, just as Black Panther next to Wakanda Forever is inarguably the better movie. It is just it just is, and so it's always going to be looked on as for what they did, it was serviceable, but let's see what happens next, and the next one will probably be much better viewed, so that much like Search for Spock, it's wedged between two titans of the films. I imagine the same thing is going to be for Black Panther. So I liked it.
Oh, okay. In short,
I liked it. It's better than people would have you believe, but it's just its flaws are that it's standing next to a great movie rather than being able to stand on its own.
Okay. Well, did I answer any of your questions?
My last question is, of the bunch, which ones have you, what movies, superhero movies post 2014 have you liked? Or really liked, that you, just pick a handful of them where you're this one is
I might
genuinely
not have
good.
a handful, maybe.
Yeah, and maybe it's just one or two.
Yeah, 2014. I mean, I liked the character. I don't know if that's going to be a copyright thing, blah, 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 blah. We got someone with the stereo. I don't want that to be a copyright issue. But it's about filming in public, the joys of filming in public. But because of the era it takes place in, I'm a Captain America fan. So, I mean, the Captain America movies, I always tend to lean more towards.
Yeah, they're good.
Honestly, I don't think about this very much. So, I don't know if I could say anything more other than that. If I could have a graph of all of them in front of me, I could probably say, but I mean, I don't have them all memorized.
Did you see The Batman from
last year? From last year, yes.
Yeah, that was a good one. That one.
See, that was kind of a love it or hate it for people as well, and I'm in the middle. I mean, I didn't think it was amazing, but I definitely didn't hate it. And it was interesting that it was so freaking long, but it's because I don't think we really, and I'm not a comic book fan, so I don't know for sure, but my understanding is a big part of the early Batman, or a lot of the early Batman, is the detective aspect. Yeah. So it was cool to be we've got hints of that in some of the other ones, but to have that be the more or less the main aspect of the character in this one was really cool. So I actually had no problem with the Batman. I blind buyed it.
I love that.
I blind buyed it last year and absolutely didn't regret the purchase. I think I've seen it. I can't remember. Oh, I saw a little bit up to the first hour myself, and then me and Beth watched it. So I seen it 1 1/4 or 1 1/3 times or something.
That was one that's really cool. If you had seen it in the theater, the sound design was great, because whenever Batman's approaching in the movie, you hear his footsteps coming
Oh, I
down
got- I
well
got a-
before you see his character
I
showing
got a
up.
great home theater, so
Oh,
I
it's
can,
great.
yeah, I can experience.
The sound on that is just awesome. But yeah, okay. I was just kind of curious.
Yeah, the Batman I thought was good. I mean, it was one of those things where I don't drool over it. I don't hate it. I thought it was good.
For my money, on the DC side of things of the bunch, I really liked Wonder Woman. I thought Shazam, the first Shazam, was quite good.
Oh yeah, okay. So
Thus-
I did see that and thought it was okay. Well, I'll say that.
The Suicide Squad is pretty fantastic.
So that's what, the first one?
The second one.
Oh, so the second one you like more than the
The
first
second one is phenomenal.
Oh,
It's
okay.
really good.
I don't know if I don't think I've seen that because by then I was just kind of oversaturated.
It is
I think
super good.
I think Beth saw it, but I just
Yeah,
have yet to be bothered by it.
I really like that one. That one's worth your time. The Batman is really good. And if you like Terminator 2 at all, the one with The Rock, what is it? Black Adam is pretty alright.
Oh, I saw that on streaming.
It's pretty similar to Terminator 2. About this dude who's questionably a good guy or a bad guy bombing around with like this little boy who then is battling like.
Over the winter, I did 3 months of HBO for $2 or whatever it was, $2 or $3 a month. So I did see that, and it wasn't horrible. Like the consensus was that it was horrible. See, I mean, there's this consensus which may or may not be correct.
It was a good movie. I liked it.
I wouldn't know. I don't know if I'd say good, but it wasn't. I'll say it wasn't horrible. And actually, I'd probably buy it for $3.
Yeah. A lot of people have a lot of love for Zack Snyder's Justice League, the Snyder Cut.
Okay.
I do not. I hate
Okay,
it.
so you think that's worse than theatrical?
Yeah, I like. It makes more sense than the theatrical cut. But at 4 hours and 2 minutes, of course, it's going to make more sense. You have like so much you didn't like shake out of the movie. That said, the stuff that they shook out of the movie, I understood why, especially from a studio's perspective, why you would want to like take a lot of this stuff out. The only stuff that really worked better in the Snyder Cut is the stuff with Cyborg's character is really well developed. He's sort of the main character of the Zack Snyder version. But I can also see why a studio would get cold feet. If you have a movie with Batman and Wonder Woman just became a huge success, you'd want to really capitalize on that. And why have this random character that is kind of, by nature, a boring character because he's just kind of robotic, but occasionally gets flares of anger, be your main character? Like, I get where a studio would get cold feet. A lot of the stuff that they took out of the movie and they truncated, they're basically the same thing. The internet would have you believe that, oh my god, the Zack Snyder one is so completely different. It is not. It is the same movie, just it's different because instead of each scene going from 1 minute, now it goes from a 1 minute scene to a 3 minute scene. It's just more of the same thing.
More of each scene.
So yeah, everything's fleshed out better, but when you have bad ideas and you're fleshing them out longer, they're still bad ideas. I don't think Justice League is particularly, the theatrical cut is a good movie. However, it does have 3 scenes in it I really like, and they're all unique to the theatrical cut. I like the very opening shot, even though like the mustache is really wonky and whatnot.
Whose mustache?
They digitally erased Superman's mustache, so his top lip is very
Why
rubbery.
did he have a mustache?
He was filming Mission Impossible, and
Oh,
in
and
that
they
he had like the big thick mustache, and in a flex by Paramount, they wouldn't let him shave for the reshoots. Pure flex on that studio's part. So
They digitally take out
they
mustache.
digitally took out his mustache, so his top lip looked really weird. But the opening scene with the cell phone footage of filming, yeah, they digitally erased his lip, and so you have these kids with a cell phone asking Superman, like, what the S on his chest means, and he's like, oh, it's a hope. It kind of bends like a river, and then like he's talking about hope is like your car keys, easy to lose, but always there if you really look for them, which is a philosophical thing that Superman would impart onto like children and stuff like that. I liked that scene, unique to that movie. I liked the scene between Batman and Wonder Woman, where Batman is having like a complex breakdown of his own internalization of who he is, and he's like, the reason it's so important for me to save Superman and bring him back to life with this stupid mother box is because This alien is more of a man and has done more with his life than I ever could. And Batman, known as being the only superhero who's known for being just that, a man, and he's having this kind of cathartic moment where he realizes he's more alien than the damn alien was. He's connecting with Wonder Woman, who self-alienated after the death of Steve Trevor in Wonder Woman. Like, that's a great scene, like, of little manufactured drama, unique to that movie. And then I like the scene where Superman races the Flash at the very end of the movie. I thought that was kind of cute. None of those are in the Zack Snyder cut. I thought the Zack Snyder cut is very mean-spirited. I'll do a full... one of the very first reviews I ever did on my channel was the Snyder Cut review, and then my camera died halfway through the review, so it just abruptly ends.
So you put it up anyway?
I just put it up. I committed to it. I talked for like 35 minutes, and then my camera died.
Part 2 coming someday.
So then part 2 I did like a week later, and I just talked about the ending for like 25 more minutes. So I had like basically an hour-long review. But one of these days coming up here, I've been going through the whole DC lineup. I just reviewed Batman Returns. You will get my full unhinged thoughts on the Snyder Cut and how it's not so much a movie about the Justice League, but the Judgment League. Every scene where you're establishing these heroes for the first time in engagement with another human, they're pronouncing judgment on somebody rather than justice, and that's something that I thought was really kind of backwards philosophically. But anyway, I digress.
That'll be on his channel, just to make things clear.
Yeah.
Not on my channel.
Hey, not on my channel.
I won't have that on my channel.
I guess that's what I just was curious what your thoughts were on the state of superhero movies and stuff like that from somebody who's always disinterested and stuff. And
someone who's been disinterested before everyone else became disinterested.
Yeah, pretty much.
Did I answer any of it?
I think so.
I feel, admittedly, I feel bad for not knowing, a lot of these, only seen them once years ago, so I can't answer amazingly, but...
And if you're curious what my thoughts are on any of these movies, let me know in the comments down below, and I will either link you to my current review on the channel, or I can link or add it to the list of movies that I will review. As I said, I'm currently going through all the DC lineup. At some point I'll do the Marvel lineup, but that's much more time commitment.
I'd say so.
Yeah. It's because each of the reviews end up being like 15-20 minutes. So anyway, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe. Do you have anything you'd like to say or plug or anything like that?
It's just it's great to see you guys again. It's we're filming this from like a week. We're filming this in a week from now. Our first collaboration will go up.
A discussion about Wes Craven.
And you've already seen that, I would assume, on both of our channels, and that's my first time being featured on your channel. So I'm back for the second time. Hello, everyone. I hope I'm a welcome addition to his channel, or
yes,
at least not a eye and an ear sore.
No, all is well. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I guess peace.
Peace on earth, and we'll catch you next time.
Ow.
Oh, my back.
Yeah, I feel that.
See, you're not a young kid anymore.